Senate Bill 916 is not about fairness. It's about political payback, let's face it. The Oregonian editorial board said it best when it said, quote, Democrats have taken supermajorities in both chambers of the legislature and control all 5 statewide offices, due in parts to millions in donations from labor unions. It seems the spirit of payback, funded with others' money, of course, is running high, end quote. Let's be clear. No other state in the country allows public employees to collect unemployment benefits while on strike. Oregon would be the first. And why? Because no one else is reckless enough to raid their unemployment fund to reward political donors.
Hello, America, and to our friends around the world, greetings and welcome back. The previous clip comes from Salem, Oregon, where the Oregon State Senate passed their Bill 916, allowing striking workers to collect unemployment payments to be on strike. Anybody who's been involved in a union recognizes that the union itself has an allowance to pay striking workers. If I'm not mistaken, it's 2/3 of their regular pay, so long as they are actually picketing the employer. I don't know enough about 916 to know if that is a requirement to be on the picket line or if they're just going to be paid to sit at home. If that's the case, this is unacceptable. And the reason why I include this is I want to include this to give you a demonstration of the level of incompetence that exists in the state of Oregon and its government elected officials and those who work for the government. I'm going to provide for you a sample of the closing statements made at a local city government meeting for the city of Scappoose's city council. The member in particular is City Councilor Jeanette Santiago, whom I don't know if she is a federal employee, also elected to the city council position, but the way she reads her statement, I do agree with her. She has her First Amendment right to speak her mind. But I do want to include, this is the same woman last year who took up the majority of a 2-hour plus meeting admonishing the assistant city managers, questioning his compliance with the state's directed DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion mandates, and how important it is to give unproductive contractors the contracts to not get anything done. Anybody who's been in Scappoose knows it's an eyesore as you're driving along Highway 30. Anybody who's walked in Scappoose knows it is a safety hazard as half the city's sidewalks are upended, some measuring 14 plus inches between slabs. Anyone who's observed their intersections knows on a day when it's raining, they are completely flooded and not draining properly. But that is the focus that this city councilor has, is on whether or not the city complies with its absurd DEI mandates from the state capital. The same state capital that is issuing bills to overturn ballot measure 117 that the majority of Oregonians said no to ranked choice voting, that their efforts to implement, resurrect ballot measure 114 and put it on steroids, to put meters on people's private property, their private water wells, and charge them. These are only just a sample of some of the ridiculous legislative efforts out of Salem. Some are from the House. This one that I highlighted already is from the Senate. Let me cut to this video where Councilwoman Santiago disparages the DOGE employees as being overpaid and abusive, and a threat to federal workers who are just gosh darn good people. The IRS, the same people that audit you and can't even quote the law, that don't even know their own regulations, or the Justice Department that went after peaceful protesters in January 2021 rather than the Summer of Love rioters in 2020, or the illegal immigrants committing crimes. Yeah.
Councillor Santiago.
EDC meeting is canceled this week, so we're not going to be able to go to the meeting. I do have some remarks. So today I attended Senator Wyden's federal employee town hall. It was only for federal employees. Though I didn't have pick number like town hall. My number wasn't called out, but that's okay. But I witnessed firsthand the dedication of federal workers who shared their passion and how their work impacts the community, economy, and safety. DOJ claims to be working efficiency and modernization, yet what I've seen is nothing but. While DOJ employees receive top federal pay, they're dismantling agencies without due process. These aren't just organizations being dissolved, they represent real people with families and livelihoods. I've personally been caught in the roller coaster of uncertainty, and today's town hall, I've heard veterans concerned about losing their PSLF benefits while carrying hundreds of thousands of student loans. Others spoke of medical benefits simply vanishing, some of who's been reinstated wondered what they're returning to, and many questions if they question that even they want to continue civil service. I share this not from a partisan perspective, but a place of recognizing right and wrong. My position in this council may be nonpartisan, but my conscience isn't. If I remain silent, I'm part of the problem. This is still America, land of the free, but we value freedom of speech. In times like this, we must use our voices when it matters the most. Thank you.
And Councillor Santiago is correct about First Amendment rights and whatnot. But let's start with right off the bat. Entities are not allowed, they have no right to due process. And that's what she's complaining about. These agencies aren't being given due process. Who cares about an agency? I'm more concerned about the silence that women such as her have had for a decade plus about Title IX abuses, denying due process for boys and men who are victims of kangaroo courts of public schools with no consequence to the false accusers. We all saw, more than a decade ago, the Duke lacrosse nonsense, and the only reason those men were not prosecuted is because of the revelation that the prosecutor lied. You can't make it up. She's trying to equate agencies needing due process. Number one, they're government agencies. Number two, they're an agency, not an individual. They don't need due process. And all you need to do is go online and look at the things that are being uncovered as far as fraud goes. You've got people that have been swatted. You've got all kinds of so-called right-wing commentators and Doge employees being violently swatted. You had Owen Schroyer just a couple days ago. You've got Matt Van Swoll, who is a liberal who's been documenting the failures of FEMA in North Carolina, having police show up not once but twice. And that's what she's defending, is that kind of level of abuse. These people have taken, that work for the DOGE have made remarks such as Data Republican with a small r remark that they've taken massive pay cuts to do these jobs at DOGE. What else is there? We've witnessed repeatedly that federal workers, that is nothing more than a daycare for women. These women are making videos crying about having to go back to work. Well, guess what? You don't have to go back to work. Just shut up and get a different job, take your severance pay. How many of us in the private sector were they crying about? No, what they were doing, they were mocking people. Oh, you're unemployed? Learn how to code. And for the record, I don't want these people learning how to code. I don't want them anywhere near a computer system that has the ability to be, that they would learn how to hack and then infiltrate and do black hat type of work. They can learn how to pick apples or whatever. I don't care. But that's all it is. You go online and you find the majority of these people complaining. And then you've got the VA secretary coming out and saying, look, let us know if there is an issue and we'll get it dealt with. And me, I am a veteran. I have not noticed any disruption of anything. So she's whining about the free daycare for women coming to an end. It's an entitlement program. She makes a claim that this isn't a partisan thing, but it's obvious it is. She can say, by even just by saying that it is very much a partisan thing, and that's something that does bother me. Is she's politicking on city council time? I tried to find out if there's a statute. I tried to ask online if there is, and I haven't gotten a response on that. But she does acknowledge that she is the problem. Now, I found another video that I want to highlight, and that's from Newcastle, Washington, which is the neighbor to the north, where the city manager or the city mayor unloads on a leftist for, nonsense such as this the DEI queen, that Santiago is. But see, Scappoose, you got a big problem, and you need to deal with this.
My research shows that there's been 82,000 Americans who are registered as POWs or MIAs, which is atrocious and horrible, and it should never happen to any American. But there's 20 million minimum LGBTQ members. So when we're talking about special interest, let's just have some intellectual integrity. I've talked before about the hypocrisy of some of the people up on that dais, and I think that your approach to trying to trick people out of having to fly the pride flag in June by making sure that the POW MIA flag was flown is really disgusting, and again, it's not impartial in any way, and I think that you should be ashamed. I definitely am. Thank you.
It's not common that I respond to public comment, but I will not sit here and have somebody tell me that veterans are a political stunt. How dare you? This country was founded because veterans lost their lives. Hundreds of thousands of people died for this country so that you could fly your pride flag. And man, I am pissed. I'm sorry. This is out of line, and perhaps my council members will censure me for this. But do not ever disparage veterans in my presence, right? Those 82,000 people who never came home will never have a chance to have a family or grow up while you can fly your pride flag. They sacrificed their lives all over the world for America and for freedom around the world. I tolerate your comments, which are always on the attack, and all in your libelous comments on Facebook. I tolerate it because you probably can't help yourself, but don't ever disparage veterans in front of me. Don't ever disparage veterans in front of me, and we're done. Okay, next up on public comment.
All right, you might be wondering, what is the connection between the Oregon State Senate Bill 916 paying unemployment wages to striking employees, in particular public service employees, a call out from the mayor in Newcastle and highlighting the Scappoose City Councilor Jeanette Santiago, who laments the plight of the downtrodden federal workers, and that's sarcasm in case you missed it. It's that the Pacific Northwest is in desperate trouble. There is some high level, at the state capital all the way to the city governments and county, commissions. There's things happening that need to be addressed. The state senator from Oregon is correct. Paying unemployment wages to striking public sector employees is a reward. Councillor Santiago is representative of that woman in Newcastle in terms of pushing DEI and is lamenting the loss of federal workers having a free ride. This needs to end, and people such as this need to be held accountable.